So yeah, you got to be careful out there right now. You got like immune system like issues, that kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, I
Uh-oh.
actually haven't even been out since quarantine started. So,
Okay, well that's good. I mean, you should stay extra careful.
yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think I had that. I'm trying to be somewhat careful, but I go outside here and
Mhm.
there, you know. But yeah, and then I mean, today's a nice day to be outside. You don't even go like outdoors or anything.
Mhm. Um, I try not to go outdoors because the one time I went over to my neighbor's house, for less than an hour, I came home with a cold for 2 weeks. So,
Oh goodness. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Be careful, and you know yourself better than anyone else. So, yeah. So, I mean, just to start off, like a round of questions about what you specialize in and everything. Tell me what you do with like influencing, social media influencing, which is something we kind of know about. And we always hear about it. Is
mhm.
like I need that or I want to get that, but what does it really take to do that?
So I've had different styles of influencing. When I first started out, I started off on a platform, and without even knowing it, I built a following of 13,000 followers.
Very
Um,
nice.
and that happened with no knowledge of social media, and that was solely an account where I would vent on.
Okay.
and and somehow it created a following, and I actually had a few viral posts. I forgot which artist it was, but I had a country singer even repost a lot of my posts.
Very
um,
good.
from that account, I had a lot of people offering to pay me for social media marketing, advertising, and that's when I kind of understood the power that social media influencing had. From then, I went to places like Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitter, and even Snapchat, and I found a lot of success with Instagram. What I do on there is pretty much, honestly, I just show a lot of my lifestyle, and I'm part of the Disney niche. I don't know if you know what that is. so,
Is that something you have to become a member of, or is that something you just kind of choose to participate in?
that's something I choose to participate in. When I was in high school, I was homeschooled, and the two things that I would do on my free time were trying to learn algorithms and going to Disneyland. So I figured I might as well do something with that pass,
Very
and
nice. Yeah.
that's that's where I got my start in the Disney niche. And what I found out was there's actually a whole community of Disney freaks that enjoy finding out the latest news about Disney, and like they just enjoy seeing people
I can
kind of
see that.
cosplay. Do you know like what Disney bounding is?
No, tell me about it. And I'm
Um,
sure a lot of listeners might not know.
do you know what
So, I mean,
cosplaying is?
cosplay. I can't say I do. I don't know that term. I've heard the term, but I don't know exactly what it means.
Okay, so
Fill me
when
in,
you
please.
cosplay, you dress up as a character, or you can even create your
Oh,
own style of avatar and character that you dress up as. And usually people go to conventions or take pictures for social media. There's a whole niche for that.
okay,
Um,
gotcha, gotcha. Is it like Comic Con type of thing, or
yes, exactly, Comic Con.
okay?
um, and the Disney niche has this thing called Disney bounding, where adults aren't allowed to dress up as characters at the actual Disneyland resorts or Walt Disney World. So what they do instead is they use regular clothes to dress up as closely as possible. For example, if I were to dress up as Dopey, I might put on a purple beanie with a long neon bright green
Oh, I
T-shirt.
see. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so something of the sort where you could kind of resemble the character without actually dressing up. Um,
Hmm.
And it's funny because since quarantine started, a lot of people have been going from posting pictures at actual Disney, since they don't have access to that place anymore, to posting more at home Disney bounds, and showcasing a lot of their Disney decor at home.
So really, what they've done is become their own main content creators rather than
Mm-hmm.
go and experience what the company has for them, right?
Yeah, they get their creative
Well, that's
juices
good.
flowing.
Very nice. Um, Tell me like some of like what you think kind of like led to that, like to getting the initial like jump that you got. Like, was it the fact that sometimes I think that somebody that sticks to it and puts out stuff consistently. Do you think it was that, or maybe do you think it was like one post that really like hit a home run?
Hmm.
What kind of led to that, growing so exponentially?
So as far as I'm aware, I think you build a community, and that's what I feel like all of my social media platforms have, a community of people. Um, when you put out constant content, and I don't mean content just to post, I mean content that comes from your heart.
Right.
And I think that first jump with that social platform that took off without me even realizing it was because I was just being genuine in myself and very realistic. Um, I was in high school, so I had a lot of high school um, heartbreaks, drama, this and that. But a lot of
Hmm.
people related to it because everybody goes through their midlife crises in high school, and they're very dramatic. And I think people found that very entertaining, or um, they just could see themselves in me, their past selves, their current selves.
That's great. Yeah, and a lot of people kind of neglect the fact that maybe it's if it's not so much in the classroom in high school. High school is a
Mhm.
time that you really like could like discover some of this stuff that you're really capable of doing, like especially like online and yeah, in social media world and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean
was
like
homeschooled too, so I think a lot of people got to see my complete downs where it was hard for me to be in a classroom because I had so much anxiety, to me making a comeback and going everywhere, from Disneyland to my homeschool actually paid for us to go on a lot of field trips. So we got to go all over the US for free, and they would pay
oh,
for
that's great.
absolutely everything. And I think people just enjoyed seeing an underdog story as well.
That's good. And then indeed that's kind of like is that how you would describe yourself? Like
Yeah.
just as an underdog chugging along, getting the victories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
awesome.
exactly it.
So I want to talk about this because we were talking yesterday, and then you mentioned this is like part of the stuff that you're involved with, and this is something that I've always said that hey, we need to add somebody that knows this stuff rather than somebody who's just like a like a fashion specialist or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But someone who like knows the algorithms, in a way knows how to trick them. I'm not saying like play the game or manipulative or anything. I'm saying somebody that knows how they work and use them
Mm-hmm.
to advantages because of course we got to do it for us to to stay out there, and we got to do it for clients, and we're
Mm-hmm.
talking dozens and dozens and dozens of them. I mean, it fluctuates between like around hundreds and dozens at a certain time. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, ever since Facebook bought out Instagram, there's a complete algorithm change. I don't know if you've noticed that it's harder to get engagement, views per post, views per profile. Everything is just harder now, and that's because um, these companies now just want you to pay for promotion, and that's
yeah.
exactly what I look towards, the algorithm to understand, so that I can come through the back door and get that engagement without having to pay the platform to do it for me. And that's just a lot of time spent on YouTube, honestly, trying to figure out what other influencers are doing to get behind that. Um, I think it's very important for small businesses as well, large or small, because you're already spending so much. Even influencers, you're spending so much to create content and like create your own products, and you're spending money on just living. And it's very hard to spend your money on things you don't necessarily need to spend your money on.
Mhm.
So this is just one way to kind of save for yourself and grow, because personally, I get paid for social media influencing. I get paid for certain products to be posted. I sign and negotiate some contracts. I've worked with brands in the millions of following. And I personally, as a college student, cannot afford to pay Instagram for per post. And
Mhm.
so some of the few tricks that I found were to post every 3 to 4 days. I haven't done that this month, but when you post every 3 or 4 days, it builds up your engagement versus bringing it down. Things like really understanding that your audience is very different from your targeted audience. The audience you may have may not necessarily be the target audience you're going for, demographic wise or niche wise. And you have to implement a lot of targeted hashtags and content in order to integrate
Close.
the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the way you go about setting like the targeting? Is it hashtags, and what other ways than that? I mean, this is something that really interests me too.
Um, I find that hashtags are the easiest way because
Okay.
that's the number one way you're gonna always get exposure on any platform. Hashtags, because once you upload a hashtag, you're automatically shown to that whole hashtag audience,
Hmm.
and you're just exposed. Like for example, I only have 7,000 followers on Instagram, but the reason I've worked with brands in the millions is because my posts get at least 10,000 views per post, and that's primarily hashtags. And that doesn't necessarily mean that these people are going to convert to followers per se. It just means that they're able to see my posts and engage with them.
So it's basically you're going for a volume of impressions in this instance,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of, and that seems to be more of a strategy poised towards a brand awareness, like at
Mm-hmm.
least just getting out there rather than getting like the hard sell engagement, like the buy now type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
call now.
And I noticed that once you have that sort of engagement for my brand personally, it begins converting into a community, which I focus on building communities versus building in numbers. Community followers are more likely to engage with you, buy what you're selling, and they trust you. And that's very important for any brand to have trust with their following.
Hmm. Right. So someone that specializes in this, we talked about this, and then I've also read some like tips and stuff about
Mm-hmm.
like hashtagging. What we found is like when Danny wanted to look us up, like digital marketing, we're like, oh, these guys, like they're just having a good time. They're just sipping on like a soda or a coffee, and then they're on here for digital marketing. But we go and take a look at their hashtags. Digital marketing's part of it, but so are so many others. Sometimes they have like 30, 40 or so. Which ones of those are more effective? Does it make it any less effective if you put them like in a big bunch, or is it more effective if you got them targeted with just a few?
So I believe, if I'm right, Instagram allows you to have about 29 hashtags.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen some pretty big lists. Yeah.
My personal belief is that as many hashtags as you're allowed to put, try to put,
Okay. Okay, that's
because
good.
you're unlocking different doors for yourself. You're opening windows and you're allowing people to be able to see inside of your own home.
Hmm.
And people think that placing a hashtag that's highly saturated is going to get them views. But you have to think as well, your hashtag has to be targeted towards your content and your brand.
Hmm.
So it wouldn't make any sense for me to post a picture of food and hashtag it car parts or hashtag it
Yeah, true.
iPhone or something like that. It would have to pertain to the actual image, or else somebody's more likely to scroll by it because it's not what they're looking for.
So that's really the bad consequence. Is just that people won't really look.
Mm-hmm.
Is the game like usually like when you do that hashtag search, like say you click it,
Mm-hmm.
that they go ahead and look at your picture? Is that kind of like how you get more like points with like the algorithm, or is it just that people stop where you're like scrolled?
Um, it
What is
has.
it?
I personally, I can't say exactly if it
Huh.
helps or not. I believe that it helps. Looking at my analytics, more people view it. The more
Oh,
people
good,
who
good.
view it, the more people who are more likely to engage. I know for a fact that engagement, coming from likes, shares, replies, comments, all those things for sure do help boost your algorithm from, say, a recent, you're showing up in recent hashtags versus top hashtags. And that's what, when it comes towards applying as many hashtags that are relevant as possible, because the more people who see it, the more likely you're going to get more likes, the more likely you're going to get more comments that can possibly transfer into follows,
Hmm.
and
I,
all of
th- Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done for a second.
even when you have people viewing your profile, that boosts up your engagement as well.
Oh, profile views as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that will give more power to each and every individual post.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Yeah, this is great. I mean, you're telling us some really golden stuff that I would tell a marketer or a client, like keep looking at your analytics, see what works. That's some of the best advice ever that you could give them, and that's what you're saying there. So you're totally dead on with that. So you could see what people's behaviors are, post by post. Not
Mm-hmm.
so much. I mean, you could take a look at your whole profile that whole month, see how it did versus last month, and say, what did I do between those two? But like Instagram, like it'll allow you to break down all of the data, you know, just based on like what you put out there.
And honestly, it's so hard to get through that the algorithm. And every 2 months or so, 2 3 months, Instagram does change the algorithm a little bit, so you have to
Hmm.
adjust with the flow.
Okay.
Um, so it's very helpful to see what people liked before versus now, and the feature where it shows business analytics or personal brand analytics. I'm very thankful for that feature because it helped me really
Right.
understand my own brand.
That's great advice. I would advise that to any small business owner who's trying to
Mm-hmm.
run their Instagram shop, or anybody who's getting at least putting some marketing effort into like a business. Doesn't even have to be a small business. I mean, this could be a big business as well.
Mm-hmm.
However, as you know, most of those big businesses are into just the big money game. Let's throw money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's throw millions of dollars at this, and then let's get as many as we could get to stick. So it's kind of like for those with a little bit limited more resources, but this is
Mm-hmm.
something that's very like ground roots and very like you said, it's from the heart and it's passionate, and that's the stuff that's really gonna work.
Mm-hmm. You really have to invest your time into Instagram if you're going to make any sort of impressions on people. Like
Hmm.
I said, you have to keep up with the 3 to 4 day mark with your posting, or else you have to start from scratch. And for example, in my sorority, every summer we have to go on private, and that actually hurts my engagement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have to go because of recruitment. Uh,
Because people will look you up to see what's going on and that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Oh, I see. And
that's
that could totally hurt. I could see
it's a
that.
very serious thing
Like
in
nobody.
sororities where you have to go on private. So I went from having
Ah,
maybe,
I totally just learned that.
yeah,
Didn't know.
before last year, for example, I had over way over 10,000 views per post. I had maybe almost 20,000 views per post. My Instagram kept going like crazy, 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 and I would have almost around 2,000 likes per post, and 50 plus comments at least 50, but it was more leaning towards the hundreds. Now I have to start from scratch and I'm trying to build up
That
my.
could be tough. That could be
It's
tough.
very tough. Right now I'm starting with maybe 600 to 800 average likes per post, and
Hmm.
the comments are maybe in the 20s. However, my views are maybe in the 6,000s right now, and they're building up slowly but surely.
I mean, that's a good track record. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows that you know what you're doing, that it's building up again. Even though it may not be where it was. Um,
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to say is I want you to kind of like hold our feet to the fire and be kind of blunt with who we are, because you just came in kind of like
Mm-hmm.
as an outsider looking inside. I know that some of this stuff, like based on what you're good at, is like that the company might expect is for you to like apply this stuff to some Instagram properties and website depot, as well as for clients and stuff. Based on like your time here, what are some observations of how things are run, and like does it need like an overhaul? Like what kind of stuff do we got to do to maybe get right in the game of like influencer stuff?
When it comes to social media, I found that everybody has their own personal strategy with the
Hmm.
social media game. Everything I do, I didn't take from any other influencer. I've kind of figured out for myself, and that's what I found
Hmm.
works for me. Nobody else has my strategy, and
Okay.
I.
Is that something you would like? Say you have you were given an assistant here. Is that something you would share the information or play it like close to the heart?
Completely honestly, I would share some, but not all, because to
Okay.
me, my
I
strategy
mean
is very
that's
important and it shows results and it does bring in income for me.
okay.
Um, free, whether it be free items or paid marketing,
Hmm.
I find that to be very valuable information. So I'm willing to share a good amount for results for this company because I want to learn, and I understand that part of my learning as a worker here is also sharing as well to see what would be the best result.
Right.
So yeah, I do plan on sharing a good amount. However, I won't share every single detail, and I think that any influencer would probably do the same.
I
Um,
hear you. Yeah. I
this
mean,
is
we take the same approach, as a company. Like, say for example, clients call us, is like, okay, I want to get on the phone with you and I want you to show me how to optimize these pages today. Like, well, that's what you're paying us for, and that's kind of
mhm.
proprietary. So
Yeah.
unfortunately not. I said, you could do it by mentioning your keywords. I could start with that. But yeah, I mean, you're totally right in doing that. I could see that. But what I'm kind of trying to hit at here is like, what have you seen since you've come in? Have you seen like either our style of posting, or have you seen like the infrastructure of how we schedule a bunch of people's posts out in a certain amount of time that you would change or that you would suggest?
So to start
Without
with,
saying names of
mhm,
who made them or who the client is,
yeah.
like that.
So okay, I have to think about without saying names.
All right,
um,
a certain person, just say it.
let's see. For starters, it's very different seeing the amount of time it takes to do mass produced what is it, posting.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, in effect, that's kind of what it gets to with a number of clients. But I
Yeah.
think each of those does need a little TLC, as I've always said.
Hmm.
You got to give it a little time to think something out for them.
And for my post personally, I usually spend 2 hours, whether it be coming up with a concept for my
Oh,
comment or my caption, or a lot of time making the actual content for it, whether it be a simple selfie where I have to apply loads of makeup,
oh,
or
yeah.
Disney bounding, or some sort of cosplay where I have to actually dress up, and everything I do takes a lot of time. So coming onto somewhere that has a lot of mass produced posts that we have to make almost individually, it honestly took me maybe 2 hours to come up with 10 posts, and that was me trying to be extremely
Mm-hmm.
fast.
Mm,
So it's
okay.
what I would say personally, in order for this company to grow in that area, which I think is very valuable, we would need more workers
I see. Okay.
in order to get that thoughtful post, and the post that's going to get the most engagement, and for people to like really be able to put their whole heart into each post.
Hmm.
I'm not saying write paragraphs upon paragraphs. I'm just saying write a
Right.
really thoughtful caption that's more than just click the link in our bio. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, say for example, when I put this podcast out, I'll try to say something kind of like a little bit more profound and meaningful to draw someone into it.
And the thing
I
I've
can't say I do
noticed.
it all the time. Because sometimes I'm sharing and I have to get on the phone and I'll say,
Mhm.
"Hey, check out the latest podcast." Click, and then I might hashtag podcast or something like that.
Mhm.
But it depends. I mean, it has different. It has different. But yeah, if you put more time into it, I'm sure you see a better return.
Mhm.
And I'm maybe myself guilty of speeding through that process. Maybe one time this week in one of the last podcasts when I put it on my personal channel, it's just kind of like, oh, let's put this out right away. You know?
And you know what? A lot of people don't really think that captions are truly important, but if you notice, well, what I've noticed is the longer a person spends reading your caption, the more likely they are to engage with it or even
Hmm.
follow. And the more times you pop up and they keep reading your captions, and it's long enough for them to feel almost like they have to do something in order to pay off the time they spent reading it. Um, that's where the captions and the importance of putting your heart into anything you do is very important.
I hear that. I hear that. I think it's just simple fact that it resonates with whoever reads it. Like
Mm-hmm.
they feel like, hey, there's a connection there. It's not somebody trying to sell me something. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could totally see that. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to get into just kind of before like you have the floor on like any other like stuff that you want to share with us about you, but like kind of about your general background. Like,
Um,
have you always worked in LA? What made you maybe get interested in digital marketing? You told us like you were doing it in high school, so that's kind of like a start. But Just a little bit about you.
You know what? I've kind of always been a numbers person. Not saying I'm the best at numbers, but my dad's actually a treasurer. So that's kind of where I got my start with another internship where I was working with treasurers and
Mm,
auditors. He works with maybe 1,500 people on his own with insurances and stuff like that. And thankfully, he was able to teach me all that. And that's kind of around the time I started getting into social media, and learning about analytics got me very passionate. I know it sounds really boring to a lot of people, but I think that when you start seeing results and when you see numbers go up, and you kind of get to experiment, like how kids like playing with slime and throwing in little liquids, and they see what kind of slime they can come up with. That's how I see
that's true.
analytics.
Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly the game we're in here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a quickie, and it's not putting you on the spot or anything. Like, have you ever dabbled like with Google Analytics type stuff, or like other
Yeah.
platforms, like say like a Shopify store? Because we're always doing that
Mm-hmm.
stuff too. So if you know how to break that stuff down there, like we can maybe you know pick your
Yeah,
brain on some of those things too.
I actually watch a lot of YouTube videos, and that's where I get the most information. I'm also in college, and I'm in the major pre law, which somehow ends me up with taking a lot of major courses that have to do with finance and accounting and marketing. And right now, I'm taking social media marketing classes. And I found that with the courses, you don't really learn much. You learn a lot of terms, and that's about it. And supposedly, we're supposed to learn about Google Ads in there, and we haven't. Fortunately, because of YouTube, I've been able to learn about Google Ads, different types of social media analytics, and that's just researching on my own and watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and even playing around with Google Ad campaigns on myself, AdWords, um, Shopify, and different platforms where you're able to sell and market. I've played around with those, not saying necessarily I've sold items, but I just like to see how other people sell items. Um, so sometimes that's a little different. I may not have the perfect approach towards things I haven't exactly like sold things from. Like I think you would understand a Google ad campaign is very different when you're playing around versus when you're selling, because you're able to see results when you're actually running campaigns and seeing how certain keyword searches,
Yeah,
different SEO tactics
real
work.
money. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're going against real money, and depending on what you're doing, you might have to run into a big company at some point
Mm-hmm.
that is always dominant there. And in some cases, strangely, Google doesn't disallow this.
Mm-hmm.
You could just go maybe get back at them by like advertising for their company name, like say what's that big? Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong industry. Like say if I'm a painting person
Mm-hmm.
and Dunn Edwards company is always kicking my ass on there. I might think to go, I'm gonna advertise Dunn Edwards as a keyword
Mm-hmm.
there, and then have people click find me that way. That kind of stuff.
And I think
There's so
that's
much
also where it
stuff
comes
to
into
that.
play, where
Yeah.
you kind of observe and analyze competitors. I think that's how you guys say it. I didn't even realize that's what I was doing until I think Danny brought it up, that I do look at people in my niche that are doing better than me, and I try
Yeah.
to compare myself to them,
Yeah.
not necessarily copying what they do, but seeing what works for them
Yeah.
and how I can apply that to my own brand.
Right. 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 Yeah. We very much do that as well. I mean, I think that we've needed somebody for a long time that does that kind of a breaking down on social media accounts versus. I think we're kind of moving into like this territory where for many years this company was a lot of SEO specialists,
Mm-hmm.
and we made use of social media because it was a nice link machine. It's a very good machine, and sometimes it was like as if maybe the content that went in the post didn't matter as much. And that
Mm-hmm.
was the approach I was taking, but it was still very effective. And hey, we're putting links out to this client. We are also creating the profile with their links and phone numbers and addresses that raises their reputation throughout the web. But I mean, to take it a step further, if we want a lot of eyeballs to grow on that channel, then we're going to have to employ some of the stuff that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've always like, this could so help because I mean, that's more eyeballs, that's more people like actually, inquiring about
Yeah,
the
potential
business.
clients, potential buyers for your clients. It's just there's so many uses you can get off of social
Right,
media, and it's
right. I'm
I'm
in
really
total agreement.
happy to be involved with you guys because it like I told Ethan yesterday, my brain is fried at the end of the day. And I've only been here for what, a week? My brain is completely fried after my hours put into this because I try to be so thoughtful and I try to use all my knowledge when doing posts for you guys.
Right. That's great.
And but I tell
I mean,
him like as much as I'm exhausted mentally, I'm so happy because this is something I'm really passionate about and um it's a different perspective versus being my own brand and like doing everything for myself to be able to look at different brands and even yesterday I was thankful that you guys allowed me to experiment with different brands. I know that Website Depot in particular has a bunch of different accounts. So,
some of them it's like for a different service. Like say for example, I do the PR one. We have a PR
mm-hmm,
Star Media. So that's if someone's just looking for PR because
mm-hmm,
and then one is just like only SEO only, like only you get search boosts. Like
uh-huh.
yeah, that's kind of how we split it up usually.
Yeah, and they're letting me experiment with hashtags on there, so I'm really excited about that.
That's good. Yeah.
We're
Oh,
gonna
but
see which will get the most engagement and boost your guys' likes. And the crazy thing with it is it doesn't take a day or two to see. You have to actually go through with at least a week and able to see what
mm-hmm,
really
mm-hmm.
works because maybe it's the timing that's off in the day where you post it. And maybe it's
Okay.
yeah, it has a lot to do with days and times and your content posted and the hashtags you use. So it's a bunch of different variables. So it takes a few days to understand if hashtags really work.
My final, somewhat hard technical question would be between like some of the major social media platforms that use those hashtags, which are
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, Instagram, and then we have Facebook that uses that too. Does it kind of is it like the same concept with like the algorithm on each of them? I know two of them are one company, but
Yeah,
is it just that hey, whoever hashtags this is going to become part of that list? There, is it as simple as that, or I mean, is it are they different from each other? Do they have their own way of doing it?
I don't know if you've heard this before, but there's different. You might be the same person, but when you log into different accounts, you're a different person. Um, on
All right,
Instagram,
you have your own like
for
juice and
show.
stats, right?
You want to look perfect. You know, that's
Right.
usually the kind of
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
On Twitter, you're more of a like how you say crackhead, and you kind of just go off on whatever tangent you're feeling in your mood in that day.
Oh, okay. I hear you. I hear you.
Facebook is for ranting and Facebook sales and stuff like that. Um, I think of it as different in terms of when you go to Instagram, you do look up hashtags. So hashtags are very important for Instagram. Um, Twitter is a very hard algorithm to understand only because I'm still learning it. I think a lot of it doesn't have to do with hashtags. I think a lot of it has to do with your followers, your
I
loyal
see.
followers,
Okay.
being able to retweet your posts. And
Okay.
Facebook is kind of a similar thing where it's very important to have certain keywords. People search up phrases and keywords and people, and
Mm.
that's how you get your exposure. So each platform has their own little algorithm and audience that does certain specific things in order to search up things, and that's kind of how you have to see everything when you're posting. How would I look up something? You know, that's
Right. Yeah.
what I think of when
I'm
I
gonna look
do
in their
things.
position. Right. Okay. Cool. Cool. Um, I think I got in all my questions. I mean, being that it's a podcast and it's an interview, do you like have questions about us at all? Like, because I've been there a while. I mean, I could share some insights or I don't know,
You know
funny
what?
stories before we go.
I love the funny stories that Ethan tells me. So
Oh, okay. I'm sure he has a few.
he
I
has a
have
lot.
been there longer than him though, but
So yes, I would love. You know what? I love Danny's character too. I love his character. I just love it. I can't get enough of him. Like honestly, I just like hearing it when he speaks. I don't know if it's the accent or his like very blunt and outstanding like personality, but I don't know. I like to listen to what he has to say too because sometimes he talks a lot and
Yeah.
if you listen very closely, he comes out with a lot of like key strategies, and I don't know if he realizes how many like strategies he throws in there. Like, um,
Maybe you should write them down a little more.
yeah, like we all
But
need
but
we all
but
need
the
to write some stuff down.
I'll tell you one funny story, and it's a
Mhm.
constant thing that yeah, he does have a lot of brilliant ideas, and he's always talking and stuff like coming up with these ideas. But
Mhm.
you get them on the whiteboard or you get them on a piece of paper, it's like a doctor's thing. And then
Yeah.
I had like a football coach that did this exact same thing. That it would just be a bunch of scribbling, and you can't tell what it is. It's just a little bunch of lines,
Uh
and
huh.
then at some point they'll point there. He goes, it's all right here. It's like what? Like I can't. It's as easy as this. So I'm like,
Oh my
what
god.
does that say?
I have professors like that. That's why I have to type
Yeah.
while they talk. I can't even like write it down. My hand will hurt. So I have to type everything. And oh,
Well,
that's something.
the good thing we're doing now is that we're recording some of these, and I want to make this is a good chance to do a cheap plug. And I'm not sure if you're fully aware of what we're doing Tuesday. We got a free webinar.
Hmm.
It's going to be on Zoom here. It's the expanded features Zoom. It's like basically this program, but with
Hmm.
100 people. And then Danny's going to do a nice speech on there. He's going to do Q&A. So people are going to submit questions. We're sending out like a little a link to our client. Say, hey, do you guys have questions for Danny? Like,
Hmm.
and then they'll send them over to him.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where where did the food post come from? Like what? Like I
Oh,
didn't get
was
to
that
see
you
the
that put
caption
the
though.
question mark up as to like why?
No, I don't think I said anything in the
Like
group chat.
who did this? Yeah, yeah. It's just like
I was just
we're a digital
wondering.
company, and then there's a random plate of food, and it's
Yeah,
not
I didn't get to read the caption, so I didn't know
and
exactly
it
what the
doesn't
purpose of that.
explain why. Yeah, it should have a marking on it or something, right?
Uh
Or what
huh.
would you have done?
With what? Like
I mean, you wouldn't have put the food post at all then, I would
I
guess, right?
didn't get to see the caption. That's why I was wondering like what that had to do with the
It's
page.
Website Depot Instagram, right?
Uh huh. Is it
I'm gonna
still?
take a look. I don't know. But yeah, sometimes things like that they don't make sense. And then I mean, we've had a few gaffes that have been, laughable. It's so bad it's laughable, but we're still, we still want to come through for our people. It's not like we think this stuff is like cool to do, and it's not. It looks like it went away here as I'm just
Yeah,
kind of,
I just looked it up right now and it's not there.
yeah, it's just a random picture of like a bowl with corn in it and stuff. I don't know what, and it's gone now. I'm like, okay, what is the meaning of this post? I don't know. Um, oh man, and then the one time there was a post that said, we have a piano teacher. She's
Hmm.
great. She's been with us forever. We get her on rankings and everything. But then it says, and then we have an electrician like about 100 miles away from her, no, more like 60 miles away from her. And then we put, it's a piano teacher, piano lessons, and it says electrician services like through the middle of it. And we're like, who did this? Oh my God.
Oh.
Like sometimes it's bad like that. But either way, it gets deleted and we put up a better one. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm here looking at our Instagram right
Mhm.
before we wrap up. Actually, wait, where is my button for sharing? I need a full screen again. Sorry. But yeah, this is our Instagram. Yeah, we had a random picture of food here. This one's a cool one. Actually, Danny
Uh-huh.
asked for this one specifically. Um,
What?
there
Danny
was
asked for a food pic?
this is a cool picture, but then this was like another funny gap that we
Uh-huh.
did. Was it was like check out our SEO services, and it was like this picture. This was like supposed to be like
Hmm.
support nurses, but then we had another one later that it was like get like a free like SEO audit or something, and it
Hmm.
would be that. I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. Anyways, oh,
Yeah.
I remember this website. We made this
Uh-huh.
very nice website. This is our neighbor here. Oh God, that's me. Um,
Oh,
but anyways, I mean, I look forward to seeing your touches on this. I'm sure it's going
thank
to be
you.
really cool. I know, giving your expertise. I know that it's like bona fide good stuff that you're going to lead us into.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think that once we start for this field having more
Hmm.
of a uniform strategy on how we all do things, um, less likely there will be food posts popping up. Um, it
Yeah.
easier on all of
We're
us.
trying to eliminate
Yeah.
that with a little bit more personal accountability, and
Hmm.
then I think that's going to be the right way to go, and
I
things will
mean,
get
social
cleaned
media
up.
is so new, so it's hard to really find a strategy for us all to use. But I think that if we all come together
Yeah.
for our little team, and we just
Hmm.
pick points to do, like my boss right now for the leader of that field right now, she's amazing at having certain uniform strategies, and I think that's what's been helping you guys in terms of posting on time and being held accountable, and I really enjoy that part of it.
Hmm. Great. I mean, there's going to be plenty more to learn here, and then also it's always a learning curve when we say get a new client on board, or if you have a new client that's been given to you to work
Hmm.
with, it's kind of you got to learn them over again in a way, which makes it a little more difficult than just Danny. You will hear him talk about this many times in the future. Us as like a team member, that you're going to see a big difference in where like you're an in-house only going after one brand versus having to switch around between certain brands and then having to prioritize them and stuff. So I mean, but
Hmm.
I know you'll get it good. Yeah.
Thank you.
So all right. So I think we did this. So I mean, it's such a good interview here that here's our notes here. I'm going to stop them. We had such a good interview here that we'd be glad to get you back in again, or to get you back in one of our group sessions that we do.
That would
Um,
be fun.
so yeah, thanks to everybody that listened here, that's listening in podcast land, wherever you are, or on YouTube, where we are now publishing our podcasts. So this is a special Saturday edition here. And then this was Lorena. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, thank you. And then next week, we'll get more looks into kind of like the team, see who could come in and share some of their expertise with some stuff that clients could use as good ideas, or just everyday people with small businesses that could use with good ideas and stuff. So, and also, I like to announce that, given that we're doing pretty good on this podcast, a lot of our clients are now hitting us up saying, "Hey, why don't you get me on the podcast? We want to come
Oh,
on and we want to get interviewed." So I like to let you guys know that, hey, we're going to be booking some people and we're going to have some nice talks with them, people that are actually our clients, and then you'll get some nice stories from them too. All right, so for Lori, I am Zeke, and have a great rest of your Saturday wherever you are in podcast land. This is the Website Depot podcast. Yoast Me, don't roast me. Take care. Bye bye.